Good evening, everyone, and welcome to an all-new episode and an all-new season of A Closer Look. I'm Arabina Apia. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. For many Bahamians, the rising cost of living has become an overwhelming burden as budgets are stretched thinner than ever. These pressures affect how we live, what we can afford, and the choices we make every single day. In response, Prime Minister the Honorable Philip Davis recently announced bold new measures as part of his administration's commitment to addressing the needs of average, everyday Bahamians. A 50% reduction in value-added tax on food and stronger consumer protection laws aim to ease the financial pressures. These changes mean lower grocery bills, better safeguards against unfair pricing, and more peace of mind for families simply trying to make ends meet. Tonight, we'll take a closer look at the steps being taken to make the Davis administration's vision a reality. So stay tuned, because A Closer Look begins on the other side of the break.
Hi, I'm Senator Randy Rowe, Executive Chairman here at Consumer Protection Commission. Here at CPC, our mandate is to provide consumers with a louder voice with stronger rights. We are driven to bring resolution to all consumer complaints. Stay in contact with us through our social media platforms. And don't forget, if you have a complaint or concern, you can reach us on our 24-hour hotline, 357-7898.
Welcome back. You're watching A Closer Look. I'm Arabina Apia. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. In a national address at the top of the year, Prime Minister the Honorable Philip Davis outlined his administration's plans to make life more affordable for Bahamians. For more on these efforts, we go to our ACL correspondent, Jillian Gray. Jillian?
In his first national address for 2025, Prime Minister the Honorable Philip Davis laid out just how his government plans to make the Bahamas more affordable.
I am pleased to announce a 50% reduction in the VAT rate on all food sold in food stores. Beginning April 1st, the rate will be cut in half from 10% to 5%. This new 5% rate will apply to all food in the food stores, including fresh fruits and vegetables, baby food, lunch snacks, and frozen foods.
Prime Minister Davis emphasized that the high cost of living is not due to VAT, but arises from a combination of global inflation and a lack of competition here at home.
In order to strengthen competition, we will shortly be engaging in a consultative period prior to introducing legislation to prohibit anti-competitive practices. By promoting competition, the legislation will seek to enhance consumer welfare and protection through lower prices, remove unfair trading practices, and secure better products and services, and a wide range of choice at the best possible prices. In order to help Bahamians shop around to find the best prices, we are also launching a new price comparison app.
This digital tool is expected to empower consumers to drive down prices through the power of competition. As energy also plays a part in the cost of living, the government has brought relief to thousands of homes through the equity rate adjustment. And as the Prime Minister says, you can't build a 21st century economy with 20th century infrastructure. So there's more reform coming for the sector of energy.
Solar panels are going to go up. The prices are going to come down. We are partnering with Bahamian companies across our family islands to meet the unique needs of each. We are going to have New Providence first utility-scale solar fields. We are integrating LNG. We are updating transmission lines and technology for efficiency, which means cost savings, for reliability, and increased resilience during storms.
In a bid to lay the foundation for a brighter future, the Prime Minister touted concessions for first-time homeowners, building a solid framework for affordable housing.
We are building affordable housing, and we are piloting a rent-to-own program. But while these are important, they are not reaching enough Bahamians yet. So even as we work to expand those efforts, we are exploring ways to incentivize the private sector to build more. Increasing the supply of housing is the best way to see reductions in the cost of housing.
Now, this is just the beginning as the government plans to roll out a number of measures in 2025 to tackle the cost of living. For a closer look, I'm Jillian Gray.
Stay tuned. There's more of a closer look right after the break.
The one-stop shop for fashion designers, tailors, students, government agencies, junkedeurs, upholsters, event planners, and Bahamians with a sophisticated sense of style. Commonwealth Fabrics is here to provide everything you need, from the smallest notions to the most elegant and unique fabrics. Family and Bahamian-owned since 1979. Commonwealth Fabrics is conveniently located in Palmdale to offer you the best in quality fabric and fashion notions. Come in and visit us today.
Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Arabina Apia. You're watching A Closer Look. Tonight, we're talking about the Davis administration's comprehensive strategy to address the rising cost of living. For that, we go to our very own Marcos Ambrister, who got reactions from members of cabinet and the general public immediately following the Prime Minister's address. Marcos?
Here at the Harry Seymour Library, the Prime Minister will have his first national address of 2025 and his first ever with a live audience. We're expected to hear his administration's plans for the year and what that means for Bahamians everywhere.
The Prime Minister did very well explaining to the Bahamian public where we met the country and how we've worked so hard to get it to the place where we are, and now we're in such a great position to get that 50% reduction in that.
Effective April 1st, 2025, a new VAT rate of 5% will be implemented.
We are impacted by the high cost of food around the world. And so over the past few budget cycles, what we have been doing is reducing duty that is payable on the import of food items. We brought a lot down to zero. So we decided that we would take the additional step of reducing the rate of VAT on all food items from 10% to 5%.
Prime Minister Davis and Minister Halkitis have assured us there will be no interruptions to the economy's revenue this year.
There are some initiatives that we have put in place in terms of improved revenue administration. We've been able to put a number to what this would cost in terms of tax revenue foregone. And we believe that some of the initiatives that we have in place to increase revenue will more than offset anything given up with this reduction.
Minister Colby Davis is optimistic about the government's 2025 plan and what it means for Bahamians.
What I'm looking forward to in 2025 is to continue to hear those success stories and stories of how the policies of our government have influenced and have made a difference in people's lives in such a positive way.
An audience member shared his expectations after the Prime Minister's address.
Of course, I want to see how this is going to reflect for young people, millennials, Gen Zs, because, we're thinking about starting our lives and our families. So I can't wait to see what that's going to do for the next generation of Bahamian.
From new VAT rates to major reductions in the cost of living, the Prime Minister laid out his full intentions for the year. Based on his commentary, 2025 should be a great year for Bahamians everywhere. Reporting for A Closer Look, I'm Marcos Ambrister Jr.
Thanks so much, Marcos. Stay tuned, because up next, we go into even more detail on the government's plans for addressing the cost of living increase. A Closer Look is back right after this.
Every season creates an opportunity for you to enjoy the comfort and security of your most valuable assets. Unfortunately, termites are common and very unwanted guests that never stop eating. With Struckham, you can enjoy the peace of mind as we protect your investment with our 3-year fumigation warranty. Struckham, #1 in pest control services.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching A Closer Look, and tonight our conversation is focused on the cost of living increase and the initiatives announced by the Prime Minister to address them now and in the future. Our very own Preston Ferguson Jr. has more in this next story. Preston?
In an effort to combat the rising cost of living, the government of the Bahamas has championed trade diversification for both the public and private sectors to allow more entrepreneurial opportunities for Bahamians. A Closer Look had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Kerry Howells, Chief Operating Officer of CLX Logistics Bahamas, to discuss how government initiatives and public-private collaborations are combating this spike in the cost of living.
I think that the Bahamas government is doing a proactive approach to it by working along with the private sector to try to figure out ways for us to alleviate the high cost of living for Bahamians.
Collaborations between the public and private sectors has become essential. Mr. Howells highlights the role of partnerships between the government and logistic providers like CLX in creating meaningful change in the midst of impactful initiatives.
Going direct to source countries and sort of cutting out the middleman. This gives us the opportunity now to get these goods at, a minimum of 20% cheaper. Working along with logistics companies on the forefront of this is a very good initiative. Is the best way for me to put it. Just mainly because it gives us the opportunity to work directly with the governments and to go down to these suppliers and then offer certain services such as consolidation.
In addition to seeking out these types of opportunities, Mr. Howells champions the advancement and implementation of modern technology to help support local businesses on a more global scale.
The Bahamas Customs single window system, it was essentially created to streamline these customs processes. It's used globally in many countries to help to streamline the process of processing goods once it reaches borders. I think that the system is working. It has its challenges, obviously, like all technology does. But I also think that there's another side of technology that should be more utilized by Bahamian businesses, which is I think that we need to start to move a lot of these storefronts into a digital platform, which could reduce the overhead that a lot of these store owners tend to have, which obviously reflects on the cost of goods. One of the ways from a logistics standpoint that we are trying to assist with this is by integrating third-party logistics technology into this, which is where local companies sort of take on the Amazon model where we do the warehousing and distribution for a lot of these companies.
With initiatives such as this being rolled out by the Davis administration, we look forward to seeing how many Bahamians benefit. Reporting for A Closer Look, I'm Preston Ferguson Jr.
Up next, the A Closer Look team took to the streets to hear from average everyday Bahamians on how they feel and what they're expecting from the government's cost-alleviating initiatives. For more, we go to ACL correspondent Preston Ferguson Jr.
The Pricing Control Act among the recent initiatives announced in the Prime Minister's national address. In our ACL on the Go segment, we hear from everyday Bahamians on their thoughts on this subject.
I won't have to spend extra dollars. I'll be able to see, okay, if I go to Super Value, this costs so-and-so. If I go to Fresh Market, this costs so-and-so. And I'll be able to better plan my spending.
I think being very helpful. I mean, a lot of times people think that they know, okay, yeah, this is cheaper or this is better than that, but to actually see it written out on a phone or a paper will definitely give people a better idea. But oh, okay, this is what I'm getting for my dog. Like you said, it's gonna be more visible for me to see, and I can make more sound decisions on how I spend my money.
Number one, it's keeping up with technology, and that's a very important thing, and it's also convenient because now you don't have to worry about spending gas trying to figure out, okay, let me go check here, let me check there. And that's something that, our grandmothers and sometimes our mothers did. It was just basically something that they were used to. But now, if you could just go in the app and literally within seconds or minutes, you can check to see, okay, I could save here. You can construct a list.
I can make astute, sound observations and decisions with my money, and it'll help the lifestyle of everybody.
Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe on all of our social media platforms for more ACL on the Go and hear what the Bahamian people have to say. Reporting for A Closer Look, I'm Preston Ferguson Jr.
Stay with us. There's more show right after this.
This is the National Youth Guard program designed to train young people to help the Bahama Islands in times of disaster.
I decided to join to better serve my country as well as to better myself.
We train the help in search and rescue,
electrical, plumbing, and carpentry.
And things that they can actually expand on in their careers.
Young people who join the Youth Guard program discover a sense of identity, a sense of purpose, and a sense of patriotism.
This program isn't about only the individuals, it is about the country.
Thanks so much for joining us. You're watching A Closer Look. I'm Arabina Apia, and tonight we are talking about the cost of living crisis and the Davis administration's efforts to address those issues. Joining me now on the desk are head of the Consumer Protection Commission, Mr. Randy Roll, and chairman of the Bahamas Trade Commission, Senator Barry Griffin. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for being here. So let's talk cost of living. From your perspectives, what are some of the primary issues that are driving the high cost of living that Bahamians are experiencing right now?
Ramana, thank you for having us on the show this evening. First of all, we want to be very clear. The cost of living in the Bahamas is high. We all can feel it. Bahamians from all walks of life, tourists, expats, we all pay the same prices for the same goods in this country. And so I think we need to start on the basis that the Bahamas is an expensive country. In fact, over the past 2 decades, it's been ranked as one of the most expensive countries in the world.
Wow.
It's a mix of things that are contributing to the high cost of living. But a number of things the government has identified is the lack of trade diversity in the country and the lack of competition in key sectors in the economy. Mm-hmm. Those are 2 things that are driving up the cost of living in the Bahamas, amongst other things. But those are 2 significant reasons we believe the cost of living in this country is extremely high.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know, Mr. Roll, you do a lot of work with the Price Control Commission through your work with the Consumer Protection Commission. So tell us about some of the, the work that's being done to mitigate against the inflation that we experience on everyday goods.
Well, most definitely. Actually, a great question. Some of the things that we're tasked with is making sure to inform our consumers as to what's happening out there, what are some of the costs associated, and of course, things that are happening globally. We talked about the cost of living. Well, in some things it fluctuates. And it's based on a number of different things. For example, the price of eggs, sometimes people think that that's something that's attributed to the government. Well, the government has nothing to do with the price of eggs. Sometimes it's just a global thing. We just had a chicken disease that killed some 300,000 chickens throughout the world. And so that drove the cost of eggs up. Mm-hmm. Another thing can be the weather, based on what part of the world that you're in, and the cold conditions because it's winter. And so again, these are some of the factors that could drive the price of those things up. Mm-hmm. And I think in about 2-3 months, we're going to see a difference.
Okay. What sort of measures is the Commission taking to address, instances of price gouging when you see it and when it's reported to the Commission?
Well, we have taken a very aggressive approach in terms of the Consumer Protection Commission as well as price control. And so we're going to have a number of inspectors that's going to be in stores, that's going to be visible. A lot of times we send our persons out in the field, and consumers throughout, they do not hesitate to share with us some of the things that they notice that's not working or that they see a problem with. And so we encourage consumers to, let us know. And so we've done a lot of commercials, we've done a lot of PSAs, we've sent out a lot of issues to say, listen, when you see something, say it to us, and therefore we can have someone investigate.
Mm-hmm. Now, Senator Griffin, I know that from your perspective with the Trade Council, importing of goods has been one of the things that you've been focused on, especially for Bahamian wholesalers, retailers, that kind of thing. And there has been a distinct push to diversify, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that a little bit. What does that look like from your perspective?
So touching on one of the things you and Senator Rowe would have said a little bit earlier, There are some things that we cannot control in the global space. International shipping and logistics is one of them. There's a lot of insecurity in terms of trade in the Bahamas because we trade with such a limited number of suppliers from one particular jurisdiction. And so in order to protect Bahamian consumers and Bahamian businesses against that insecurity, we're trying to diversify trade. So what does that look like? We currently import the majority of our goods from Florida, not just the United States, but from Florida, and a small amount of suppliers in Florida. So we want to diversify that trade and work more closely with our partners in the Caribbean, in Latin America, and Africa, not just to increase the diversity of products that we have here in the Bahamas, also to benefit from cost, getting things a little bit less expensive in these other jurisdictions, but also protect ourselves against any trade things that might happen in the global ecosystem that we can protect ourselves against.
Now, I know that you've spoken about the Latin American region, the Caribbean region. Bahamians like name brand things. And there is this, this belief that if it didn't come from the States and it's not a name that we recognize, I want that in my house. So how are we combating that? Because if you're talking about goods from these jurisdictions, Bahamians may not be familiar with them. And so are we then creating another problem where goods are being imported, but retailers aren't seeing the benefits of those goods being sold?
So one thing you would notice in everything that we're doing right now is that we're putting the power back in the hands of the consumer. So we're not talking about directing where people spend their money, but we're talking about diversifying the products so that there are more options. And so if you have a name brand that you're familiar with and you're comfortable buying that at a particular price, you're free to go ahead and buy that. Those will still be available in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. However, many Bahamians have diverse spending patterns. And so there may be a product that you may not want to change your brand on, but many other Bahamians may appreciate having that diversity of options and things that may be cheaper. But it's very interesting. We do know that Bahamians like name brand things, but listen, we all travel all over the world. And when you sit in a restaurant, whether you in Bahama or you in Japan, you don't ask them if the rice is Mahatma or Uncle Ben's. You eat the rice and the food is good. And so that's the diversity that's in the international marketplace.
So what sort of responses have both of you been seeing so far? From the price gouging side of things, I guess, have you seen an increase in Bahamians coming to report or making their concerns known? And have you seen what has been the response rather from, persons who are looking, or business owners specifically, who are looking to take advantage of all the things that are being offered right now? I guess, Mr. Rowley.
So first, I want to commend the government in taking the initiative to understand, hear the concerns of Bahamians and doing something in the direction of say, hey, listen, we hear your concerns. We want to do something about it. I think this is how we got here today. Secondly, again, once Bahamians see our presence, they know that, hey, this is now, there's a voice out there, there's heirs out there that hear our concerns. And they're so much concerned about it that they're looking into it. This is a start. Again, you and Senator Griffin, you all spoke about trying new things, and again, that's an opportunity to think outside the box. So if I try a product, it tastes good, I'm going to tell you, listen, try this product. And hopefully that spreads the word.
So the reception from the business community and consumers has actually been extremely positive. Businesses are very interested in meeting trading partners, companies from abroad, so that they can explore those relationships. And consumers are very excited when we talk about the variety of goods we're going to have and also bringing down the cost of goods. The one thing, though, that businesses and consumers all say is that the only thing they want to make sure is that the high quality that we are now used to in our jurisdiction, that we don't decrease our standards to import from any country. And so we just want to make it very clear that we aren't decreasing or changing any standards. And so the same standards that American companies have to meet to import products into the Bahamas are the same standards any company from any country will have to meet. And so we'll continue to bring in high quality products into the Bahamas.
Well, I guess in our final few minutes, gentlemen, what are some of the specific initiatives from both your commissions? What are some of the specific initiatives that Bahamians can look forward to seeing this year and well into the future?
So I'll speak specifically, generally from the Ministry of Economic Affairs and from the trade unit within the Ministry of Economic Affairs. First, every Bahamian would know by now that the Prime Minister announced that starting April 1st, VAT on all food items would be cut by 50%. And so it's not a limited number of breadbasket items that you're being directed to. It's literally savings across the spectrum of all food. And so you have choices. 3 other things we're working on, as we've been talking about: diversifying trade to decrease cost. We're also bringing in competition legislation to introduce innovation and competition into our markets. And we're going to launch a price comparison app so that Bahamians can sit at home and compare prices of goods from across the country and across different stores. You don't have to go to 3 and 4 and 5 different stores to see the prices of various goods. So we're very excited about all of those initiatives.
When does that app come online?
So we intend for the full app to be launched by mid-year. However, it will be in testing phase as soon as February. And so you may know some of your friends, or you may be involved in terms of having a small group to beta test the app.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Ravina, I would like to invite you to become one of the persons to test the app.
Say less.
Yes.
I'm there.
Thank you.
Present and accounted for.
Awesome.
And I think in programs, in terms of just finding new creative ways of educating the consumer as to what are their rights, and again, what are the options out there. Certainly once the consumer feels that there is some sort of redress in terms of even making a complaint, then they're more free to do it. We've seen this in consumer protection in great numbers. For example, in 2024, our numbers grew significantly from 2023. And so even in terms of the monies they get back because they make complaints, so it has been very good. It's very encouraging. And we want to continue to find creative ways so that the consumers know that there is a team, there is a commission that's working on behalf of the consumer. So we say consumers first, and that's a mission that we push.
Okay, so just on a point of clarity, I guess, we're trying to ensure that the public understands the difference of where this value-added tax break is going to apply. So we're talking not cooked food, not restaurants necessarily, but definitely wherever food items are sold. So we're talking gas stations, we're talking mom and pops, convenience stores, all of that?
Yeah, and that's correct. And so again, this is a game-changing initiative by the government. And so wherever groceries are sold, this 50% will apply. Absolutely. As it relates to that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time. I think the public is going to be paying a lot of attention, and so that's great that we have all of these initiatives rolling out. And we may have to have you both back and to see how things are going once things really kick into high gear.
Please have us back. We would love to update you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, there's more of a closer look after this, so stay tuned. Welcome back. Tonight, we've seen exactly how the rising cost of living isn't just about the numbers. It's about the choices that families and businesses face every single day. Whether it's stretching a paycheck or keeping the doors open, the impact is deeply personal. That's why these initiatives matter. Because by tackling the core needs of the average everyday Bahamians, the government aims to ease the pressures that we're all facing. As these initiatives move forward, we'll continue to follow their progress and the impact that they're having across the country. I'm Arabina Apia, and I'll be back next week with a closer look at the stories that matter to you most. Until then, good night, everyone.